Namaste, good evening, and welcome. Welcome to Bloom in collaboration with Reach Out. My name is Payal Irani, and I'm founder and CEO of Bloom. We at Bloom strongly believe in co creation, collaboration, and teamwork. Bloom has powerful and dynamic team which have been handpicked. They are who's who and are industry veterans who are having accumulated 200 years of experience specializing in their own field. Bloom is into mental wellness training, creating signature workshops for corporates, speaking engagements. Bloom will be catering to each and every individual where we will be creating masterpieces through our signature programs. I invite each and every one of you to be a part of Bloom along with Reach Out. Together we grow, and as Bloom is casted, it will create ripples world over. Let me introduce Reach Out. Reach Out is an organization for people and by the people. The founder is Dr. Neeta Matre Mishra, and she is also the co-founder of Bloom. She is a certified trainer, edupreneur, master NLP, and comes from background of medicos. She owes her specialization in alternative system of medicine. She is a professional with varied skills, high zeal for positive living. Has served as medical officer in charge for 12 years for shipping industry. She exhibits a fine blend of holistic approach by using creativity, dance, games, theater, meditation in all her training programs. She is adept at working on behavioral changes, language patterns, team handling, stress mitigation, and has psychological understanding. So welcome, Dr. Neeta, and heartiest welcome to all our speakers and audiences. Over to you, Dr. Neeta. Kindly introduce our speakers and start this.
Payal, and thank you one and all for joining in for this beautiful conversation on the ongoing Pride Month. So basically this Pride Month, I felt it is not only the celebration of a community, it is a celebration of the entire society. And when we all talk about inclusion and diversity, I see an amazing blend of people who have joined in today here, like Dr. Shambhavi, Anupama, Rupa, Arpita, of course, yes, even Payal, Milankher, and we all are also a part of this inclusion and diversity. But what made me talk about inclusion and diversity and make this topic a very special today? We all have been talking that there should be equality, there should be inclusion. There is a big NEP which has come down for inclusion and diversity. And it was so sad when you see the morning newspaper where the DGCA is putting a big question mark on the child with physical disability, that the child cannot board the plane. Where is our inclusion? Where is our diversity? Some people very blankly putting up the statement, that this child should be thrown out of the plane. He doesn't belong to this community. How do we take decisions on this? And here is where it came up to my thought that we need to talk on the initiatives where people have been questioned about their own identity. People have been questioned with their own emotions. What is a big thing? This is what happens everywhere. What is a big thing what you are dealing with? It is really big and it is really profound. The grief in the person, the trauma in the person, the emotional turmoil in the person is a lot. If somebody comes and asks me, what's wrong with you, Neeta? This is okay. This happens with everyone. It's not okay for me. It's not really okay for me. Maybe crying would be okay for everyone. But when I am crying, I really look forward that my crying has been addressed. My crying has been acknowledged and my crying is being heard. That is what I thought, that of course there is a lot where celebration is happening on the Pride Month. I do agree. There are a lot of fashion shows, there are a lot of rallies. But I thought, let's have the Pride Month celebrated by amazing dignitaries who are here, the spokes of wheels, basically, anchoring the LGBTQA community and trying to make a difference in the community. So I would not take much of your time, and I would like to introduce our panelists. First is Dr. Shambhavi Samir Alve. A very, very warm welcome, Dr. Shambhavi. And I'm extremely sorry for your wrong pronunciation, which did happen by mistake in the the posters and the creativity which was out. She is ALVE, not ALWE, and also she comes from a psychotherapist background, not from a clinical psychology. So that was a very, very big major mistake because it was out. And talking about Dr. Shambhavi, Dr. Shambhavi is into a very, very, I think words are really falling short for me to talk about her, but understanding that she comes really from a very humble background. Secondly, she is the one where I think that people not only open themselves, but are very comfortable to talk to. So, what exactly does she do? She talks about hypnotherapy. She talks about practicing psychotherapy. She talks about practicing mindfulness. And when people with practicing mindfulness is there, certainly it is a lot where people are not only giving, but they are empowering and evolving each other simultaneously. So definitely we will be listening a lot from Dr. Shambhavi by herself. Coming to Anupama Ishwaran. Anupama Ishwaran is the founder of In Harmony. Oh, my net is lagging. Once we start, maybe then I will. Okay, Anupama Ishwaran is into inclusion and diversity. She basically advocates, practices, and is a strong supporter of the inclusion and diversity group, working with the LGBTQ community very, very passionately. And me and Anupama, I think we have grown together, little old, a year old maybe, of doing skill development program pan India with the LGBTQ community. And nonetheless, we have our beautiful trans woman counselor, who is Rupa. Rupa, if it is fine with you, you can switch on your video. Only with Rupa is that she will be addressing in Hindi and in Marathi. A small English is okay. Warm welcome, Rupa, to this platform. And we are all really very, very thankful for you being here and expressing why is this Pride Month and what is this Pride Month. तर रूपा, तुम्हाला असं का वाटतंय की आपल्याला प्राईड मंथ सेलिब्रेट करायला पाहिजे आणि प्राईड मंथ मध्ये दुसरा काय असेल की अपन काय नवीन करू शकतो? रूपा, हम क्या कर सकते हैं अवेयरनेस लाने के लिए लोगों के बीच में, और इस तरीके से ये प्राइड मंथ हम एनहांस कर सकते हैं. फैशन शो सभी करते हैं, रैली करते हैं, तो हम कुछ अलग कैसे कर सकते हैं रूपा?
मुझे तो ये सजेस्ट करना है मैम कि मेरा कुछ ज्यादा अनुभव नहीं है, मगर फिर भी जो अनुभव है उसके हिसाब से, यानी कि हम प्राइड में जो करते हैं, आज तक हम जो करते आ रहे हैं, प्राइड में इस बार जो पुणे में जो प्राइड हुआ, मैं पुणे प्राइड में इसलिए नहीं गई हूँ क्योंकि आज अगर समाज मुझे काउंसलर करके जानता है, किसी को डॉक्टर करके जानता है, ट्रांस को, किसी को एडवोकेट करके जानता है, और वही प्राइड में जाके हम छोटी छोटी चीजों से मार खा जाते हैं. मार खाने का मतलब ये कि हम बेढंगे कपड़े पहनते हैं, बेढंगा मेकअप करते हैं. तो ये जरूरी नहीं है. आज हमें समाज बहुत नजदीक कर रहा है, अपने साथ में लेके चल रहा है, अपने साथ में बिठा रहा है. तो प्राइड में अगर हम जाते हैं तो हमें काफी रिस्पेक्टफुल जाना चाहिए, काफी इज्जत से जाना चाहिए. वो भी हम अगर सम्मान से करें तो वो काफी अच्छा रहेगा, और समाज को देखने का जो नजरिया है वो सच में बदलेगा. अगर हम कुछ अलग और बेहुदा कर देते हैं प्राइड में जाके ना, तो वो समाज भी थोड़ा उसको इग्नोर कर सकता है कि एक एक हिसाब से समाज बोलता है कि इन्हें न्याय मिलना चाहिए, इन्हें सबको सपोर्ट करना चाहिए. मगर अगर उस प्राइड में कुछ लोग गलत शब्द का अनुस्मरण करते हैं या गलत शब्द इस्तेमाल करते हैं, बोलते हैं या कुछ रॉन्ग ड्रेसेस करते हैं, तो ये समाज को पसंद नहीं आएगा मेरे हिसाब से। तो भी अगर हम अच्छे से और ढंग से जाएंगे और अच्छे से प्राइड करेंगे तो प्राइड सक्सेसफुल हो सकती है। और समाज का भी हमें यानी कि हम अगर हिंदुस्तान में, इंडिया में रहते हैं तो इंडिया की संस्कृति क्या कहती है, पहले उस संस्कृति को भी हमें देखना पड़ेगा। संस्कृति के खिलाफ अगर थोड़ा हम ज्यादा ही कुछ जाएंगे तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि समाज हमें 100% क्लोज करेगा करके। आपको क्या लगता है?
मैं मेरे ख्याल से आपके बातों से सहमत हूँ, बट मुझे
जी
ये पता है कि बूंद बूंद से सागर भरता है रूपा,
जी सर,
है
जी
कि नहीं?
मैम, जी जी
तो
जी
मेरे ख्याल से यही एक छोटी सी मेरे ख्याल से कोशिश है रीच आउट की, कि जहां पे हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि कुछ अलग कर सके। इसीलिए
जी
शायद जब आपने पार्टिसिपेट किया था हमारे स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम्स में,
जी
और
मैम,
हम साल भर से बहुत कुछ कर रहे हैं जो अलग अलग तरीके से कर रहे
जी
हैं,
मैम, जी
जहाँ
जी
पे हम एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, जहाँ पे हम
जी
हमारे कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं,
जी जी
जहाँ
जी
हम
मैम,
एडवर्टाइजिंग के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं। तो मुझे
जी
लगता
मैम,
है कि इसी प्रकार से शायद हम छोटी छोटी चेंजेस को ले आ पाएंगे।
जी मैम।
Thank you, thank you. My first very important question to Dr. Shambhavi. So Dr. Shambhavi, you have been dealing with a lot of people, and it's not only in India, you're dealing it with global citizens also. So could you highlight something about emotional trauma, or could you talk about something, what is that thing which triggers that trauma and makes the person completely numb, and how do we delicately handle this?
Thank you, Nita. That's a wonderful question, and um, I think we really don't talk about this, right? Traumas and even the first word, emotions itself. I think it's limited to our Bollywood songs and Hollywood songs. We do express through songs and movies, but when it comes to validating, acknowledging what I'm feeling, how I'm feeling, we rarely do it. The it starts with the fact that most of us aren't even aware of what trauma is. A lot of time we have gone through it and still we aren't even aware that we had certain memories or we had certain incidences in our life which were traumatic. While dealing with clients, and this is again, it's a very global thing, right? So when I say, not being able to acknowledge and validate traumatic experiences from the past, it's a very global thing. Now, why? The question, why would be here that, especially coming to our context, Indian context and Asian context, one, we do not talk about it while we are growing up. Two, there is this tendency to, not give much weightage to it as much as it is required. When it comes to maybe the physical aspects, we are concerned. But when it comes to our emotional health, we still take it too lightly. It takes almost a pandemic to come and hit us and tell us like, hey, you know what, it's time to reflect. So that's one part of it. Now, how emotional traumas affect to a great extent, as I mentioned this earlier, a lot of times we don't even know that we are experiencing a trauma. And that's how that experience goes invalidated while we are growing up. We find that it's okay, everyone is going through it, everyone is dealing with it. So I have to find ways to deal with it. Not knowing that most of the time these ways to deal with it are very unhealthy. It could be about moving away from that feeling just because that discomfort is not very nice to have. So we try to push it away rather than facing it and trying to question like, hey, you know what, I see you and let's see what I can do it. So definitely we are not trying to say that start liking that experience, but at the same time, simply noticing, yeah, I see you, you're there. I think that will open avenues to work towards it. And this is something what a child is never born with, the skill, this ability to reflect and to acknowledge. It is something which the child will learn when they see the parent behaving in these manners or addressing their own issues. So I think the intricacy here is that a lot of times the adults there around are themselves not reflecting or not openly talking about their own traumas, their own problems, or how they have dealt with it. There could be times when even they have failed, even they have heard certain words which were very disturbing. But how did they deal with it? Did it hurt them? Did they cry out? I mean, these are some stories which we need to openly talk with our children, with the next generation, so that it opens up, it clears that fog around this area, which is still, it's like chalta hai. We need to get over that chalta, I think, because it's high time we start talking about it. And the more we talk, the more we make it, normal to talk about these, I think children will start even accepting that, yes, I experienced something which was not very nice and I would want to talk about it. And that is where the healing part will start. And that's just the first step. But what happens most of the time, especially what I see with my clients, it takes like decades and decades for them to decide, oh, I think I need therapy. And that is where we start talking about something which happened like what, 20, 30 years ago. And that part is so deep buried in that even trying to look at it can be so, not very nice and pleasant. So that very moment of looking at where the problem happened or what trauma did that I'm holding on to, that very moment can be very, liberating for a lot of them. So it it doesn't even require you to go on with your therapies and therapies and therapies, but that one moment of, oh, I'm still holding on to that itself can be very liberating in itself. So I think with traumas, we need to understand each one of us at some or the other point of life have experienced it. We call it as, there are some traumas which might not look as a trauma to some XYZ person, but for that person, it might be really very, very deep and intense. So we need to understand the subjectivity element here, and maybe just having more conversation around this can open up space where we all can be not just talking, but also listening out to someone else's traumas and their stories. And I think that would make it a wonderful world in the room.
So well said, Dr. Shambhavi, that it's so important for us to listen. It's very important for us to talk. And in that talk, it's not important that we only talk about only positivity and only talk about, yes, I am the great person or I am the awesome person. It's okay to talk about failures. It's okay to talk about faults. It's okay to talk about that after failing, this is how I have got in that trauma and I have stood up. I think it is so important. And if we start acknowledging this part, then the healing process is so easy. I so really relate to it. Coming to my question to you, Anupama. So, Anupama, I would like to know what actually inspired you to start this journey for inclusion and diversity, because you very boldly write Anupama Ishvaran, TEDx, and I have heard multiple times your talk of the TED, and it is really, I would really advocate everyone really to go and listen. The kind of description which you have given, the percentages, the evaluation, I don't think people are even aware of that percentage of what you have really shown in that. So, what actually inspired you to be in this journey of inclusion and diversity?
Thanks, Dr. Neeta. So I think what really inspired me is my own story, because when I started off in the journey of diversity and inclusion, I started with looking at women empowerment. That is where I had started, and the whole work around gender. And it largely stemmed from the kind of decisions I took. I felt like, had I got a mentor at that point in my career, or people who were talking about these issues, maybe I would have taken a few decisions differently. I have no regret about my life. I think there were wonderful experiences, but yes, as far as my career is concerned, there are many things which I could have done differently. And that's what made me want to come back and give to the women who are like today, they're like much, much more focused, and help them through that journey. And that's how I started my journey in diversity and inclusion. In 2016, I also got one of our clients approached me to hire a transgender person. They wanted a postgraduate in HR. I had no idea that somebody like this existed, because the first image, honestly, which came to me was somebody who's standing at the signal, who's begging. But instantly I felt, okay, I can make a difference. That's all I knew. I had no idea like what I'm going to do, how I'm going to achieve that goal that this client had. But now that I had decided, I started getting educated about the community. So I had done a certification in sex education. So I reached out to the trainer first, the teacher who certified me, and asked, like, give me a background to understand this. From there, then I moved on to meeting multiple people. And in the course of it, I think Kripali is another person who we both know very well. And many other people who gave me, started building, helping. They were my education, basically, my university in understanding the transgender community. And since then, I've not looked back at all. It's just the interest and the desire to make a difference has just amazingly grown. I have some really good friends from the community. And I realized that, I think, which I say in my TED talk also. So one of the persons, Abhina, I had met at a cafe coffee day. And we met like a regular meeting, finished our discussions. I was exploring and understanding the community. At the end of our meeting, when we got up to leave, the cashier said, "Thank you, ma'am. Look forward to seeing you again." And I saw the expression on Abhina's face that here is somebody who's not gone through a sensitization program, but she has recognized her and accepted her as she wants to be known. And at that instant, I realized the power of being an ally. All I did was just be normal. I mean, it never even struck to me that I had to do anything extraordinary. I was meeting somebody who came with a lot of knowledge, came from the community, and my desire was to understand the community. And just that normalcy helped to convey a message to the environment around me that this is who she is. And I mean, you very well accept it. I didn't have to do much. And I have seen since then that this role modeling has influenced so many other people. And in the last 1.5, 2 years during the pandemic, actually, we just took off. We started conducting webinars under the brand name Transes, and where we brought various trans people, and people were sharing their stories. And bit by bit, it was like a community of allies which got built. So when we had to reach out for support for their ration during the pandemic, or even later on in terms of employment opportunities, funding for certain work which is being done, people were coming up, without much of an effort. So I think it's just the message which needs to go out. And yeah, that's my journey. Before your next question, I just want to, something which Rupa said, that, in the pride, we need to, what we are wearing, what we are saying, etc. My only take there is that who decides what is right and what is wrong? कौन से कपड़े ठीक है, कौन से कपड़े ठीक नहीं है, क्या बोलना ठीक है, किसी को इंसल्ट नहीं करना है, लेकिन जो हम पहनना चाहते हैं, एक हर कोई अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस कर रहा है. सोसाइटी के जो नॉर्म्स है वो हम सब ने बनाए हैं. सो कहीं पे मुझे लगता है कि प्राइड को लेके भी हमको थोड़ा और एक्सेप्टिंग होना है, बिकॉज हर कोई अलग अलग जगह पे है अपनी जर्नी में. कुछ लोगों को बहुत ज्यादा शायद मेकअप ड्रेस करना है क्योंकि वो अपना जेंडर को अफर्म कर रहे हैं, इतना स्ट्रांगली अफर्म कर रहे हैं, और वो हमें एक्सेप्ट करना है. सो पर्सनली मुझे नहीं लगता है कि हमको किसी को भी डिक्टेट करना चाहिए कि आप ऐसे ड्रेस करो या ऐसे ड्रेस करो. बस इतना ही सोचना चाहिए कि हम किसी को इंसल्ट ना करें, कि उनको गलत ना प्रूव करें. दैट्स द ओनली थिंग. So I wanted to share this view because I strongly believe in that.
Thank you, Anupama. And I understand that every person is very, very unique, irrespective to the gender, irrespective to the caste, irrespective to the creed, and irrespective to any global place wherever the person stays. Everyone has a freedom of choice. Freedom of choice to be who he or she or they or it or anything. Freedom to express, freedom to accept, freedom to talk. So with this freedom, Rupa, can I ask you a question?
हाँ, yes ma'am.
Yeah. So Rupa, I would request you कि if you could share आपका जो ट्रांजिशन है, क्योंकि अभी आप बहुत अच्छे मुकाम पे हो, आप एक काउंसलर
जी
हो
मैम.
और आप खुद
जी
बहुत
मैम.
लोगों से मिलते हो, राइट?
जी.
और जब आपका ट्रांजिशन हो रहा था उस समय बहुत सारी चीजों से आप खुद गुजर रहे थे कि ऊपर हो रहा
जी
है,
जी जी
इमोशनल
मैम.
डिस्टर्बेंस है, मूड स्विंग्स हो
जी
रहे
जी
हैं,
जी.
मैं अपने बारे में कुछ
यस.
समझ नहीं पा रही हूँ, मैं किसको बोलूं।
हाँ.
वो ट्रांजिशन आपने कैसे पार किया और आप उस ट्रांजिशन से यहाँ तक कैसे पहुंचे, रूपा?
जी. मैम एक्चुअली जब मैं 5 क्लास में थी तभी मुझे पता चला अपने जेंडर के बारे में, मगर मेरी घर की कुछ लोग ऐसे, मुझे नहीं लगा कि मैं अपने मामा के पास पढ़ाई करती थी, तो मुझे नहीं लगा कि मैं कभी मामा या मामी को बोल पाऊंगी या मम्मी या पापा को बोल पाऊंगी। तो मैंने अपना 12th क्लास तक अपना एजुकेशन कंप्लीट करने का सोचा था, उसके बाद ही मैं कुछ कर पाऊंगी ऐसा सोचा। जब मेरा पहली बात तो मेरे क्लास में एक मेरा फ्रेंड एक ओपन हुआ था जो गे है करके, तब मुझे बहुत हिम्मत मिली थी कि कोई तो है मेरे जैसा जो मुझे भी समझ सकता है। जब उससे बात हुई तो उसने कहा कि मैं तो बस अपना एजुकेशन कंप्लीट करके घर छोड़ने वाला हूँ, मगर मुझे ऐसा कभी नहीं सही नहीं लग रहा था कि मैं घर छोड़ के जाऊँ, क्योंकि एक्चुअली मेरे पापा एक्सपायर हो गए थे और मम्मी और मेरे छोटे भाई बहन की जिम्मेदारियां मेरे ऊपर थी। मगर अगर मैं ऐसा उस वक्त नहीं करती तो शायद ही घर वाले मेरी जबरदस्ती शादी कर देते। तो मैंने भी प्लान किया कि मुझे भी कुछ काम के बहाने से बाहर जाना है और मुझे काम करना है घर संभालने के लिए। तब मैं वो सब कुछ घर वर छोड़ के जब आई तो बॉम्बे में सबसे पहले बार रही, तो वहाँ के कुछ ट्रांस पर्सन मुझे मिले। तो वहाँ उनका जो माहौल था उन दिनों 2005 में, तो वो माहौल बहुत डरावना था। मुझे नहीं ऐसा लगा कि मैं यहाँ कभी अपनी लाइफ सेटलमेंट कर पाऊंगी। फिर वहां से वो देख के जब मैं पुणे आई तो पुणे में जब से सबसे पहली जब मैंने बार साड़ी पहनी, तब मैंने ठान लिया था कि मैं आज साड़ी पहन रही हूँ। साड़ी पहन रही हूँ इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि मैं जिंदगी भर बेगिंग ही करूंगी या सेक्स वर्क करूंगी या फिर सिग्नल पे मांगूंगी। मुझे जॉब ही करना है, चाहे मेरा एजुकेशन 12th रहो या कुछ भी रहो, मैं जॉब ही करके दिखाऊंगी। उस वक्त मैंने ठान लिया था। तो उस वक्त पूना में मैं रही काफी दिन, मगर पूना में भी सब जैसे कि हिजड़ा कम्युनिटीज के जो रूल्स थे वो काफी हार्डली रहते हैं ना। तो शायद आप भी काफी ट्रांस पर्सन से मिलते तो आपको भी ये सब बातों का स्टडी होगा, और उन सब स्टडियों से मुझे गुजरना ही था कि ये दिन भर बेगिंग करो, नाइट में फिर सेक्स वर्क करो, पूरा पैसा लाके गुरु के पास दो। ये सब ना मुझे अपने मम्मी को भेजने के लिए मिलता था, ना खुद के खर्चे के लिए। तो इन सब बातों से सिर्फ मैं परे होके फिर मैंने सोचा कि पहली बात तो ये ही क्यों कि गुरु ही क्यों इन सब बातें करने के लिए। जैसे कि अभी मैम ने कहा कि हमें किसी का प्रेशर नहीं चाहिए कि हम कौन से कपड़े पहने, क्या पहने, क्या करे। तो उस वक्त मैंने भी ये ठान लिया था कि मैं क्यों गुरु का सुनूं, कि मुझे क्या करना है, मुझे जिंदगी में अगर आगे बढ़ना है, अगर गुरु परंपरा में रही तो मैं नहीं कर सकती। तो उस वक्त ये सब कुछ चलता रहा। फिर बहुत बार मैंने मतलब अपनी गुरु का मार खाया कि मैं पलट के जवाब देती हूँ कि रूपा तुम सुनती नहीं हो, ये रूल्स बने हैं, तुम्हें इसी रूल्स में लाइफ जिंदगी जीना है। तो मुझे ये सब कुछ नहीं बर्दाश्त हुआ। फिर मैंने अपनी एक अलग दुनिया बनाने की सोची और तब मैं यहाँ से डायरेक्ट चली गई थी नांदेड़ डिस्ट्रिक्ट, जहाँ पर माहौरगढ़ में मैं 11 साल रही, अपनी खुद की लाइफ जी, खुद के हिसाब से किया, सेक्स वर्क करना छोड़ दिया उसके पहले। फिर बेगिंग करते करते मैंने काफी 10-12 साल वहां अपने आप को स्ट्रांग बनाया। जब वहां के अच्छे लोगों में उठना बैठना स्टार्ट हुआ तो मुझे एक हिम्मत मिलती गई कि मैं कुछ कर सकती हूँ। मैं जिंदगी अपनी मुझे बेगिंग में डालनी नहीं है और मुझे इसमें घुटन में घुट घुट के जीना नहीं है। तब मैंने फिर से फैसला किया कि मुझे माहौर छोड़ के पुणे आना चाहिए। पुणे में जब आई तो सबसे पहले मेरी मुलाकात हुई थी कि अनाम प्रेम से। जब मैं अनाम प्रेम से मिली, सबसे ज्यादा हिम्मत और एक रास्ता अगर नजर आया तो मुझे बस अनाम प्रेम में ही नजर आया। जबकि सबसे फर्स्ट मीटिंग मेरी कृपाली मैम, योगेश दादा, कुणाल दादा इनके साथ हुई। और सबसे पहले मैं योगेश दादा के यहाँ जब दादाजी की आरती थी तभी मैं मिली। तब मुझे जो कृपाली मैडम ने मुझसे बात की ना, तब मुझे ऐसा लगा कि अब मैं कुछ कर सकती हूँ। तो कृपाली मैम ने मुझे कहा कि रूपा हम तुम्हें मदद करेंगे, तुम्हें बस निकलना है। क्या? मैंने कहा मुझे मैम आप आज कह दो कि रूपा तुमको इसमें से निकलना है, मैं निकलने के लिए तैयार हूँ। मैं ये नहीं सोचूंगी कि मेरा इनकम कम हो रहा है या मैं पैसा कम कमाऊंगी या मैं अपने शान शौक मुझे कम करने पड़ेंगे। मुझे कुछ भी नहीं सोचना है, बस मुझे इसमें से बाहर निकलना है। तो सबसे पहला जॉब मेरी लाइफ में आया कि अभिजीत सोनुले जो भी अनाम प्रेम से जुड़े हैं, जो यहाँ पर जो बेचारे लोग बैठे रहते हैं मंदिर के सामने, उनका फ्री में इलाज करते हैं, उनकी असिस्टेंट बनने का तब कुणाल दादा ने वो ऑफर लाई थी, और तब मैंने सबसे पहला जॉब वो ज्वाइन कर लिया। वो जॉब मैंने ज्वाइन करने के बाद एक अलग सा फील होता था। जो सर भी बहुत मतलब कि डेयरिंग से कहते थे कि मैंने एक ट्रांस को जॉब दिया है, और मैं भी एक बहुत मतलब खुद को अभिमान देख के कहती थी कि मैं एक ट्रांस हूँ, फिर भी आज मैं जॉब कर रही हूँ। मतलब कि मैंने इसके पहले भी ट्रांस देखे कि मतलब कि ट्रांस इस तरह से देखे कि उन्हें
रूपा
हैं,
म्यूट म्यूट पे हाँ, बोलिए बोलिए।
यस, आपने बाल काटने हैं, पैंट शर्ट पे जॉब करनी है, ना कि वो साड़ी पे जॉब कर सकते हैं। ऐसे कुछ मेरे फ्रेंड मैंने देखी। तो उस वक्त मुझे बहुत अच्छा फील हुआ कि मैं साड़ी पे जाती हूँ जॉब पर। जब मैं ट्रैवलिंग भी करती तो बहुत से लोग पूछते थे कि आप जॉब करते हैं? हाँ मैं जॉब करती हूँ। एक अलग सा फील होता था। फिर वो जॉब लॉकडाउन के पहले छूट गया, फिर उसके बाद में फिर से लॉकडाउन लगा, फिर से मुश्किल। उसके बाद में जब लॉकडाउन खत्म होने के बाद में जब आई, तो नेक्स्ट जॉब रहा मेरा वायरजी केयर में, जो फर्स्ट ट्रांसजेंडर क्लिनिक ओपनिंग हुआ पूना में। वहां पर मुझे रिसेप्शनिस्ट कह के जॉब मिला, और वो जॉब मेरे लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण रहा। यानी कि वहां मैं खुद को बहुत अच्छी तरह से समझ सकी, दुनिया को समझ सकी, और जेंडर डिस्फोरिया, जेंडर कितने प्रकार के होते हैं, जेंडर क्या होते हैं, ये मुझे वहां सीखने के लिए मिला। और ये जो काउंसलिंग का जो पार्ट है, मुझे वही स्टडी मिला, वही अच्छा एजुकेशन मिला। और कम्युनिटी क्या है, कम्युनिटी को किस तरह से समझना चाहिए, कम्युनिटी को क्या जरूरी है, ये मुझे वहां सीखने के लिए मिला। वहां पर मैंने जो जो मुझे सीखने के लिए मिला वो मैंने सीखा। एक्चुअली जहां पर जो स्टेट टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट स्टेट मैनेजर थे मिस्टर लक्ष्य अरोरा, वो काफी फ्री माइंड दिमाग के थे कि अगर मैं उन्हें छोटी से छोटी बात भी पूछ लूँ ना, सर ये कैसे होता है, ये क्या होता है, तो वो मुझे पूरा ओपन करके बोलते थे, रूपा ये ऐसा होता है, और तुम ये सब स्टडी करोगी तो तुम्हारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा तो आगे की लाइफ में। ये नहीं कहूंगा कि बहुत बड़ा, मगर तुम्हारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा, क्योंकि स्टडी कभी वाया नहीं जाती है। तो उस वक्त उन्होंने मुझे समझा समझा कि जब 1 साल का एक्सपीरियंस मैंने उनके साथ में लिया, तो हार्मोन्स के बारे में पढ़ने के लिए मिला मुझे। हार्मोन्स क्या होते हैं, कितने प्रकार के हार्मोन्स होते हैं, किस टाइप के होते हैं, हार्मोन्स से चेंजेस क्या आते हैं, इन सब बातों की स्टडी करके मुझे पता चला। और जब 1 साल मैंने ट्रांसजेंडर क्लिनिक में जब जॉब किया, तो मुझे ये पता चला कि ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन को किस तरह से बात करनी चाहिए, ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन की मजबूरियां क्या है, उन्हें क्या चाहिए। हम ये कहते हैं कि ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन को हम कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि हमने कपड़े दे दिए, हमने पैसे दे दिए, नहीं ये नहीं चाहिए। ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन आज भी, जब से जैसे कि मैंने जॉब कर ज्वाइन कर ली साड़ी पे, तो रिसेप्शनिस्ट थी तो सब हर कोई आता था, अरे आप मैम जॉब करती है, मेरा आईडी देख के उन्हें मेरे गले में जो आईडी देखते थे, मेरा जो रुतबा देखते थे ऑफिस के अंदर, वो खुद फील करते थे कि मैम हम भी जॉब करना चाहते थे। कुछ तो ऐसे ट्रांस पर्सन की मैंने जैसे कि मैं फीडबैक में पूछती थी कि आपका एजुकेशन क्या है, मैंने होटल मैनेजमेंट किया है, मैंने डिप्लोमा किया है, मैंने ग्रेजुएशन कंप्लीट किया है, मैंने पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन किया है। मैंने कहा मुझे देखिए मैंने सिर्फ 12वीं पढ़ी है, फिर भी मैं जॉब कर रही हूँ, और आप इतना हाई एजुकेशन करके आप अगर बेविंग करते हैं तो आपको मैं क्या बोलूं। इन सब लोगों की मैंने फिर एक लिस्ट बनाई कि इन सब का ग्रुप बनाया कि हमें किस तरह से करना चाहिए। मैं कर सकती हूँ तो आप भी कर सकते हैं। मैं कुछ भी नहीं हूँ आप लोगों के सामने, आपका इतना हाई एजुकेशन है, आप अच्छे से इंग्लिश बोल सकते हो, तो आप दुनिया बदल सकते हो। बस आपको अगर सपोर्ट चाहिए तो सपोर्ट लीजिए। हमें सपोर्ट करने के लिए बहुत सारे लोग बैठे हैं, बस हमें उनके पास जाना है। ये नहीं कि हर बात हमारे पास आएगी। हर बात हमारे पास नहीं आ सकती, कुछ बातों के लिए हमें भी उनके पास जाना पड़ता है। जैसे कि अभी पीसीएमसी में जॉब निकले ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन के लिए, और जब से मैंने ज्वाइन किया शोधा आरंभ रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट फाउंडेशन समीर सर के साथ में, सोनाली मैम और कृपाली मैम के साथ में, ये तो मेरे लिए बहुत सुवर्ण संधि रही कि जैसे वो एक लिस्ट बनी थी ना मेरे पास कि इन लोगों के लिए जॉब चाहिए, तो वैसे ही जैसे ये लिस्ट मेरे पास आई और ये जॉब मुझे मिल गई कि यहाँ पर मुझे तो काम ही ये मिल गया कि काउंसलिंग करना है, माइंड फ्रेश करना है और दूसरों को जॉब पे लगाना है। तो ये चांस मिला, तो ये सुनहरा अवसर मिला मुझे उन लोगों को जॉब देने के लिए। अगर हम चाहेंगे ना कि हमें ये करना है तो हम कर सकते हैं, बस एक दिल में ठानना पड़ता है और वैसे लोगों के साथ में ज्वाइन रहना पड़ता है। वो कहते हैं ना कि एक बॉन्डिंग चाहिए कि नीता मैम आज मुझे मिली तो सेशन के बाद मैं नीता मैम को भूलूं नहीं, नीता मैम के साथ मुझे हमेशा बॉन्डिंग रखनी है। अनुपमा मैम मुझे आज मिली तो मैं अनुपमा मैम को भूलना नहीं चाहिए, मुझे उनके साथ बॉन्डिंग बना के रखनी चाहिए। कभी कभी गुड मॉर्निंग, गुड आफ्टरनून, गुड नाइट कहना चाहिए, ताकि वो लोग भी मुझे याद रखे कि अरे एक रूपा है तो ये रूपा कर सकती है, तो कभी ये आपके भी दिमाग में रहेगा, मेरे भी दिमाग में रहेगा। इसी हिसाब से आज तक का सफर, यानी कि मुश्किलें मुझे भी आई, लोगों ने मुझे छेड़ा भी, टोका भी। आज भी कभी अगर मैं कोई दुकान पे जाती हूँ ना कि भैया शक्कर दीजिए 1 किलो, तो सामने वाला कभी मुझे ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन खबर के 10 रुपए हाथ में, सर मैं मांगने नहीं आई हूँ, मैं आपके पास कुछ खरीदने आई हूँ और उसके पैसे दूंगी। ये बात है कि मैंने समाज को इग्नोर किया, चाहे मुझे टॉर्चर करे, चाहे मुझे छेड़े, चाहे मुझे बोले, कुछ भी करे। आज भी लोग कुछ कुछ पर्सन होते हैं ऐसे कि जैसे कि हाँ आप मुझे पसंद है, अगर आप मेरे साथ सेक्स करोगी तो मैं आपको इतना पेमेंट करूंगा। मगर क्यों? मैं अपने 20-22 हजार में खुश हूँ, मैं क्यों करूँ? ये एक भी थामना पड़ता है दिल में कि चाहे कोई कितना भी ललचाए, हमें भी नहीं फिसलना चाहिए, और मैं ना ही फिसलती हूँ। इसलिए मैंने आज तक जहां तक यहाँ तक पहुंचने के लिए जो मुश्किलें मुझे आई, वो तो बहुत लंबी सारी लिस्ट है। तो मैंने उन मुश्किलों को ऐसे संघर्ष करते हुए, टक्कर देते हुए सामने निकल आई, और बस उन सब बातों को इग्नोर किया। किसी ने हंसा भी ना, चलो उस मुझे देख के उसे हंसी आ रही है, खुशी मिल रही है, बस खुश रहो आप हंसो, आपको भी मजा आ रहा है, मुझे भी मजा आ रहा है। किसी ने अगर मुझे बोला ना कि ट्रांस, हाँ मैं ट्रांस ही हूँ, मुझे मैं गर्व से कहती हूँ मैं ट्रांस हूँ, आप मुझे ट्रांस कहोगे, मुझे उससे कोई कोई बुरा नहीं लगेगा। तो कुछ बातें इग्नोर करनी पड़ती है और कुछ पकड़नी पड़ती है, और पकड़नी हमें अच्छी बातें है और छोड़नी हमें बुरी बातें है। अगर समाज से हम झगड़ा करते रहे, हर एक टॉर्चर को उस टॉर्चर का जवाब देते रहे, तो हम आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते। ये इस सब में।
थैंक यू रूपा। आपने शायद बहुत अच्छा पहलू हमें इंसानियत का दिखाया है, और
जी
वो इंसानियत का पहलू आपने दिखाया है कि हर इंसान को अच्छे बुरे और हर परिस्थिति से गुजरना पड़ता है, बट
जी
हमको
मैम।
ये ध्यान में रखना है कि मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास,
यस यस
हम
मैम।
होंगे कामयाब आज ही
कामयाब,
के
यस
दिन।
यस
राइट?
मैम।
और
यस
हमें कामयाब होना है क्योंकि हमें हमारा लक्ष्य,
जी
हमें कहाँ पहुंचना है और हमें क्यों पहुंचना है। जैसे
जी मैम।
आपने सोचा कि मुझे बेगिंग नहीं करनी है, और
जी नहीं।
आपने कहा कि आपको योगेश दादा, कुणाल दादा, समीर सर, कृपाली, we are very happy that Krupali is here among us,
यस
and
यस
thank you Krupali for being here. But इन सभीयों का सहयोग के बावजूद आपके मन ने बहुत मजबूती से वो एक निश्चय कर लिया था कि मुझे नहीं करना है,
नहीं
मुझे
करना है।
एक जिंदगी जो मिली है उसको बहुत रिस्पेक्टफुली जीना है,
जी
और
मैम।
मुझे लोगों के अंदर वो बदलाव लाना है। तो
जी
ये
मैम।
बहुत बड़ा संकल्प आपने एक्चुअली लिया। और ये संकल्प के साथ आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क अनुपमा a very important and a very crucial question. When we talk about inclusion and diversity, there is a lot where we are also seeing in the areas which are very gray, where people are not aware trans kya hai, gay kya hai, bisexual kya hai. You know, there are all these terms जो normal layman को भी नहीं पता रहता है. So how is this associated in getting them jobs? Is getting jobs very easy for them, or means how do you liaison with that? You know, how do you bridge that connect?
Right. So I think जो दो चीजें जो आपने टच की, एक तो the difference between lesbian, gay, bisexual, that whole unearthing the whole gender, sex, sexuality, सही बोला कि there are lot of people don't know, interchangeably ये use होता रहता है, and it's not like एक sensitization कर लिया, like everybody has got it clear. In fact, sometimes it's like opening a Pandora's box for them because that confusion is more. So जितना ज़्यादा conversations करते हैं उतना ज़्यादा बेहतर है. कंपनीज में जहाँ एम्प्लॉयमेंट की हम बात करते हैं, हम लोग इंसिस्ट करते हैं कि आप पहले सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम्स करिए, स्पेशली जहाँ ट्रांसजेंडर लोगों का एम्प्लॉयमेंट होता है. So this is a must, and some companies, like I'm very happy at least जिनके साथ हम काम कर रहे हैं, they're very serious about the sensitization part to be done before वो hiring शुरू करते हैं. बट कुछ ऐसे कंपनीज हैं जो बोलते हैं हमें हायर करना है स्पेशली ट्रांसजेंडर लोगों को, एंड सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम करने में बहुत कंजूसी करते हैं. Then they want to do one program which is covering like 1,000 people, where we also sometimes we say that we don't want to do. हम लोग थोड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग ले, बिकॉज इसलिए इतना जब हम लोग स्पेशली ट्रांस कम्युनिटी के साथ मैं ज़्यादा काम करती हूँ LGBT अम्ब्रेला के अंदर, एक प्रोटेक्टिव फीलिंग आता है. We know what they have gone to, large number of them. So you don't want to send them to an environment जहाँ sensitivity नहीं है, जहाँ कोई, because from the organization point of view, they have not done their bit of sensitizing people, because it's not like everybody wants to be, people are mean. Some lot of times ये जो गलत way से जो बोलते हैं, it all comes out of not being aware. So then we also say that we don't want to send people in these kind of organizations, send them to a good place. Having said this, जैसे अभी रूपा बोल रही थी, एक बहुत important point कि कई बार स्पेशली हम जब हिजरा कम्युनिटी सब देखते हैं ना, जहाँ पे एजुकेशन लेवल का थोड़ा इशू आता है, कई सारे लोग जो बेगिंग सेक्स वर्क से काफ़ी पैसा कमा लेते हैं. सो उनको ये बोलना कि लीव दिस, लेट्स गेट यू अ प्रॉपर जॉब विच इज गॉड, जैसे रूपा बोल रही है कि उसकी दुकान में जाके बोलती है कि मैं पैसा मांगने नहीं, मैं पैसा दे के कुछ खरीदने जा रही हूँ. दैट काइंड ऑफ डिग्निटी ये रूपा जैसे लोग ही बिल्ड कर सकते हैं. रोल मॉडल कम्युनिटी के अंदर से जब आके बात करते हैं ना, दैट इज व्हेन द डिफरेंस हैपेंस. सो जितना मैं जाके मैं बोल सकती हूँ कि ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी आपको दे सकते हैं एक्सेट्रा, बट बिकॉज इतना सारा स्टिग्मा पहले से उन्होंने झेला है, एक डर है, ट्रस्ट का इशू आ जाता है कि कैन वी रियली विल पीपल एक्सेप्ट अस when they go into a organized kind of a setup. So role models in the community like this make a big difference to make this happen. But yes, very happy to tell you that companies are opening up. I've just come back from Calcutta. टाटा स्टील के साथ मैं हम बहुत काम करते हैं, एंड दे हैव आई थिंक टिल डेट मे बी क्लोज टू 100 ट्रांसजेंडर लोगों को उन्होंने अपॉर्चुनिटी दिया है अक्रॉस वेरियस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेटअप. एंड आई एम सो हैप्पी टू सी द वे दे हैव बीन डूइंग द सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम, राइट फ्रॉम द सीनियर लीडरशिप टू द सिक्योरिटी, कैफेटेरिया स्टाफ. हर ये हमने उनको बोला था कि प्लीज ये सारी जगह पे आपको डेफिनेटली करना है, एंड दे हैव जस्ट डन. दे हैव नॉट इवन थॉट कि नहीं कहीं पे, they don't want to leave any part behind. They want to make sure that they have create a really beautiful environment. And I'm happy to say that the first place where they hired, वहाँ पे लोग already अभी 9 months का उनका training हो चुका है, इतने well integrated हैं कि birthday parties या कोई family functions में everybody, even the trans colleagues are invited. So they are socializing the way that we envisage, which is how society should be. So yes, there is a lot of hope, good work, but at the same time, there are many who are just taking that little bit of tentative step. But मैं हमेशा जैसे आप बोलते हो ना, positive psychology. So I believe, I'm quite optimistic कि our efforts will pay off. All these conversations will help.
So I'll tell you, Anupama, that your efforts definitely will be paid off, because you are doing a difference not only to the lives of the people, to the lives of the community basically. So you are giving back what you have, that is compassion and love. And I think that is the prime place where you open the doors for communication, where you open the doors for something to create. That is what allows us to connect and to create a new world. So when connecting and creating a new world, my question to Dr. Shambhavi, and this is something very, very sensitive question, because this was a question which was asked to me when I was in the community and I was dealing with the community. When people were telling me, Dr. Neeta, पागल हो गई है यार, ये क्या community में काम करती है, पैसे कुछ मिलते नहीं है, and she's working in community. But I knew the essence of working in the community. And why did I start working in the community? When I heard that people were not having time to listen even to the counselors were like, can you cut short the story and can you come to the main point? And it was like, how can be a person so judgmental that I'm talking a story? It is not a story, it's about my life. It's those papers of my life which I have lived. So bringing a very sensitive question, Dr. Shambhavi, when a child is being born, right? When a child is being born, there is a sex which is seen. The parents identify कि ये लड़का हो गया है, वाओ, अब मेरा फ्यूचर सिक्योर है, माई बुढ़ापा इज सिक्योर, राइट? बट इवेंचुअली वो जब लड़का बड़ा हो रहा है, इवेंचुअली द बॉय इज ग्रोइंग अप, but the boy is not connecting with that boy. The boy is connecting to the other gender in him, that is the mother, that is the sister, a girl. And there is a difference which comes in the, in the bringing up of the child by that parent. Because the first trauma, I so well feel that the first trauma starts from your own family. It's not from anywhere outside. So can you just talk about it, ki how can a parent mindfully tackle this sensitive part, rather than making it a big social media thing, rather than going to all those tantrics, pandits, and doing that havan, doing everything? How can we sensitively and mindfully tackle this?
Yeah, before I come to that exact question, something more, even before the child is born, there's so much of investment into what's the gender. And even if we talk about the so-called modern parents who do not believe in a particular gender being in a higher status, we still have only two color options, pink and blue. So we are not even ready to think beyond the cultural conditioning of colors and gender. That's the first thing here. Now, yes, they're very happy. Like most of them, we still are in a very patriarchal world where they're still very happy when it's a child is assigned male at birth. And as the child grows up, there will be all these questions that will come up. They would want them to actually force the child to not follow their own desires or instincts or what they are being drawn towards, but rather pull them towards zabardasti, play like boys ka game khelo, do some rough game, what you're playing with girls, or you're sitting there. I think this again is a part of a very conditioned mindset that we all have as more of a community. We all have here, especially. Now, how do parents deal with it sensitively? Now, there are different ways to do it. And when you talk about trauma for the child, let me also mention this here. For a lot of parents themselves, it is a trauma to just find out, oh, my child is a queer. Because we were never ready for it, right? Even if we were okay with her, it's okay to have a queer around. But my child coming and telling me, oh, you know what, I identify as a different gender or I belong to the marginalized community, I was never ready to accept this part. So this is where the first thing comes, even for the parents, because this was just out of the world and out of the frame that we had for ourselves. Now, as much as it is important to offer, emotional support to the child, I think at the same time, you also need to provide this emotional cushion to the parents and the family to even come to terms with what is happening. And just only when they start having a conversation around this, I think they will be able to give that space at home for the child to come and talk. Because however much we support the child, still they will be going out in a world which is not very, very friendly, like not completely friendly. We still have people who are homophobic. And in that case, if the child can come back home and the child knows, yes, this is my safe space, I can go home and talk, I think that can be a wonderful space of healing, not just for the child, but for the family entirely. So that will be very, very important. So when I see children, adolescents who have come out, and still they come out, they come up for counseling and they tell me, yeah, my parents know it, but still we don't talk about it, because that discomfort is still there about one coming from the fact that there is lack of knowledge even at the end of the parents, that kya baat kare, we know about the adolescent issues, but we don't know what is this, because this was nothing that we ever learned or we never spoke in the past. It's just that now we are taking those baby steps of okay, saying okay, theek hai, we accept you the way you are, but there is no further conversation. So that is going to be a very, very important step where parents, of course, educate themselves about the community, because end of the day, it is one community which we still aren't aware of 100%. There is always going to be that scope to know more, know more. The more we interact globally, we know, oh, there is something more to it, something more to it. So it's never going to be like 100% that we have all the knowledge, but at least starting from, those some understanding about them, about how they feel, like how I just love the conversation you have in the group of understanding the transition. Okay, fine, we do give them all support and everything, but these are small little bits of their identity and individual experiences, and just sharing it can give them that visibility which they need to a great extent. And I think that is where the family and the role of the parents especially can come into place. Just having a conversation and having a very inquisitive mind about, tell me about it, because we don't know how it feels to be in your space. How is it? What kind of friends do you have? What kind of relationship do you have? Like uh, even with parents who are very they're open about, my child has a girlfriend and boyfriend, you would want to call them, invite them home for lunch, dinner, celebrate their so-called anniversaries. Why not ask your queer child about it? When was your anniversary? When did you celebrate your moments with your partner? I think these are some moments which will kind of give that space to open conversation around it, and that's very important. I understand parents, especially in their 40s and 50s and 60s, it can be a paradigm shift for them to simply start talking. And that is where a support group will come into place, where there are parents and parents who have come to terms with it. There are some who are still coming into it, and then there are some who are like, they want to, but I don't know what will others say, what will society say. I think as a community, even as a social group, if we have for parents, which there are a lot of support groups which are running. I think this is where parents will get their moments of expressing, of venting, crying out at times, because yes, it's still not very easy to accept the fact that, oh, my son says I feel like a girl or a woman. Right? So I think this is where the role of support groups can be very important.
Just stretching the same question ahead, Dr. Shambhavi, we are seeing a lot of bisexual cases have really come up very openly now. It was there initially, but it was, probably just put inside the rug, and people were not coming out and talking about it openly. But now we are seeing that the marriages are happening, and after a period of say 1 or 2 years, the lady comes out or the gents comes out and talks about me being bisexual.
Yes.
So when these things are coming out, how does a partner just help and balance each other? Because of course we are not looking out for the marriage to break, we are not looking out for the family to get shattered, but definitely there could be something to cope. A coping mechanism is important. So how can a family cope there?
One, lot of times, they, of course, they get married to fit into the institution and, to be a part of the society and the community. And while they might be already questioning their sexuality, so even before they get answers to their own questions, they are into it at times. And at times they do have clarity already. But still there is no communication with the partner they're getting married to around it, because I don't know how is this person going to react or respond. So rarely there is communication around this area. Now, a lot of individuals do come out after a few years, also after having a child with, in this wedlock, and then they come out saying that, I am bisexual. Now here, both the parties, they need to, like I always insist, to come ahead and start talking to a mental health professional rather than just opening up in your own families, in your communities, especially when most of them have no idea about what bisexuality is. So at least talk to a professional who can give you a third person's perspective there, and try having, resolving your own issues first. Because as much as it was difficult for this one person to come out and say I'm bisexual, maybe at the same time it was also difficult for the other person to accept or come to terms with it. And a lot of time they look at it as breach of trust, like you did not tell me, and this is cheating. But little did they know that maybe that person was also not aware of what is happening. They're still questioning and coming to terms with it. So here, it instead of getting into that blame game of who's right and who's wrong, I think it's time to seek out counseling on an individual level first. Try to resolve that hurt, that trauma, that feeling of being cheated. First trying to heal and work on oneself, and then coming to the relationship part of where do we see it going. Am I okay with my partner's sexuality? How is it going to affect? And then if there is a child involved, then of course it's a different game altogether, right? So I think the first step here would be to begin with having some individual sessions, and then moving ahead into couples therapy.
Couples therapy.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we are actually running on time, and it's already 6, but definitely I would really like to stop my question. Of course, I had 3 questions, but will not go ahead. I would like our audience, if anybody has any question, kindly unmute and you can ask your question to our dignitaries. It can even include Rupa also, but while talking to Rupa, please make it a point to speak in Hindi or in Marathi.
Can I speak?
Can I, Dr. Nita?
Yes, Prevraj sir. Please go ahead, please.
Yeah. Sorry, Dr. Alka. If you want, you can go first, and then I will. Thank
No
you.
problem at all.
Thank you. My question is a general one, which I would like to ask any of the panelists to answer. We see in corporates a lot of the LGBT community people being inducted in, and the initial stages has been, yes, we feel they are doing a good job. But is there any follow-up that happens, say, 6 months or a year down the line, to ensure that these people are really inducted into the system and they don't face any problems or any discrimination? Do we have any statistics on this?
Anupam, would you like to take this ahead, please?
Yes. So I don't have statistics on this, but our recommendation is that you do keep a check on with the people that you have recruited to see how they are continuing in the organization. A lot of times, people from the LGBT community get placed through not-for-profit organizations or special consultancies which are working with the community. So these consultancies themselves are always in touch to find out how are they doing and what kind of support are they getting, what are the challenges they are facing, etc. Many organizations also look at having buddies who will stay with these candidates for a certain period of time to handhold them and make sure that they are settled and well integrated into the corporate life. So that's what I have been seeing. Having said this, yes, you do hear sometimes situations where there are candidates who haven't found a great career trajectory, or they feel that they're just stagnating and nothing much is happening. And in those cases, whoever is the partner which is working with that company, like the consultancy which is working, then it becomes a duty to even sensitize the company that, you know, you need to do something around this. So when we do our initial sensitization, we always say that there are certain areas that companies should look at, like, you know, infrastructure is one, policies is one, but talent development is another area which needs to get planned right from the beginning. That if you're hiring somebody at a certain position, just like any other candidate, for them also you need to have your career plans, etc., and maybe invest a little bit more to help them also build their capabilities.
Thank you, Anupam.
Okay, I have a question anybody can answer. You know, since all the trans people are very keen to be accepted as women, can we not actually treat them as women rather than even think of looking at them through the trans lens? Is a question I want to put.
So we do have trans men also, Milind sir. We do have trans men, and if they want to themselves come out as trans women, it is again by their choice. It has not been coming as anything. They have to feel what they are really projecting.
Correct.
If I am projecting myself to be a female, I will have all those feelings and those characteristics which I would love. And that is where they make the transition when they go out for their SRS, or they go for the HRTs. When the HRTs are happening, they specify themselves that they want to be a trans woman.
Yeah. Correct. So what I'm saying, for example, like we have Rupa over here. Now, tomorrow when I speak with Rupa, if I don't treat her as a trans, and if I treat Rupa as a fully fledged woman, will that make a greater difference in their acceptance?
Oh yes, definitely. She'll feel much better. She'll feel, in fact, much respectful, because she wants what she's getting.
Yeah.
And that is also, she is just not even asking. Without asking, Rupa is getting that being woman thing. Right? Definitely she will feel good. So there is no word as trans. Probably that is where the inclusion also is playing a role. That is where the diversity is coming out for. Why do we talk about these things to be included? Can't it just be equal?
Correct. Absolutely.
If Rupa is wearing a sari today, even if I am wearing a sari, I have started now, off lately, the ladies are more comfortable wearing Western outfits.
True.
So we write it as Western outfits, but maybe the personality is not only Western, but it is really a tomboy. It is really a trans man, right?
Okay.
So if there are people who comes with that authority, she looks like it and she behaves like a man. So I think this would really be more respectful if we start doing it that way. Rupa, जर तुला काय सांगायचं असेल तर प्लीज सांगू शकते हा.
ओके.
या मीन्स जर तुला असं सांगितलं की मला रूपाला ट्रान्स वुमेन नाही सांगायचंय, नुसतं वुमेन सांगायचं आहे, तर रूपाला कसं वाटेल त्याबद्दल?
खूप छान वाटेल.
एकदम खूपच चांगलं वाटेल.
मला ऍक्च्युली हे सांगायचं होतं, थोड़ा ऐड करूँ का, चालेल ना?
प्लीज ऐड करा रूपा, प्लीज ऐड करा.
हाँ, तो मुझे एक्चुअली ये कहना था कि एक ट्रांसजेंडर हो या एक गे पर्सन हो, उसका एक ख्वाहिश होता है, उसका एक माइंड होता है कि आई एम अ लेडी. वो चाहे पैंट शर्ट पे रहे या साड़ी पहनने के बाद खुद को हम वुमन ही फील करते हैं. और जैसे कि मेरे लाइफ में मैंने से बदलाव करके वुमन तक आई हूँ, अब किसी की वाइफ बनने वाली हूँ, तो मुझे वुमन कहा तो भी चलेगा, नो प्रॉब्लम. आई एम नॉट ट्रांस वुमन.
रूपा, आप आपका चेहरा दिखा सकते हो, क्योंकि हम सबकी इच्छा है आपको कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करना है. जुलाई में रूपा की शादी है. रूपा की शादी पूना में होने वाली है और हम सब बाराती बन के जा रहे हैं.
वाओ, यस, थैंक यू सो मच.
Yes, we all are actually looking forward, क्योंकि जब हम पूना में मिले थे तभी पता हुआ था कि रूपा की शादी होने वाली है, and we were so looking forward कि जुलाई में हम सब रूपा की शादी के लिए फिर से वापस से पूना में मिलने वाले हैं.
Yes.
अनुपमा जी, आपका हाथ रेस्ट है. Do you have anything to add on?
Yes, I just want to add on a point that so when you have to address, जैसे आप बोल रहे हो कि we address somebody like a woman and why trans woman, just one thing we have to be careful about is that let's not go by the attire or their voice. Best is to ask them कि how would you like it, what's your preferred name, your preferred pronoun, because कई बार क्या होता है कि वो ठीक है साड़ी में है लेकिन maybe they don't identify. For example, a trans man, the family is not allowing them to dress like a man. Under say they prefer, you know, they want to be assertive they want to assert themselves as a man. So it can be very confusing. The Aadhaar card or their official document is saying one name, they look something else, and they saying my preferred name is something else. So I think it makes everybody's life easier if you just ask, you know, what is your preferred name, and उनको तो सबसे ज़्यादा खुशी यही मिलेगी अगर आप उनके preferred name से उनको बुलाओ and then just affirm them with that gender that they identify with. So just want to add.
Thank you. I think Dr. Alka, आपको कुछ पूछना था, and think maybe it's already 6:10. We would like to wind up the session also. आप mute पे हैं, Dr. Alka.
So I just want to say one thing. This answers to Bill Khair also and to everyone. वो ये है कि GID, gender identification disorder, is of two types. One is the girl wants to become into a boy and the boy wants to become into a girl. So when a girl wants to become into a boy, she feels trapped in a girl body and she wants to behave like a boy. And this it happens in childhood. Even if you see a 2-3-year-old child, the parent will retrospectively remember that this child, girl child, does not want to wear frocks, and they will go to the market with the mother and they want to wear knicker and bush. That is the first telltale sign in a child who wants to become from the girl to the boy. But what happens is we don't accept it. As parents, we don't accept these things. As the child is growing older, supposing the child is becoming from boy to girl. तो मेरी एक फ्रेंड थी, तो उसका बेटा जब मॉल जाते थे वो लोग, so this child used to go and stand in the Barbie dolls ka section, and he always wanted to have Barbie dolls. So she never understood. But then when she started talking to the doctors, the doctor also didn't understand. And the doctor told her, koi baat nahi, this will go away. And sometimes it does go away also, because dysphoria is very little. The gender identification part is very little. And by the time the children are 10 to 12 years of age, they are very strong. Those children who will not change their mind at the age from 10 to 12 years of age, they are pakka GIDs, and we have to really, really help them to accept these children into whatever they want to become. It could be a trans boy, it could be a trans girl, it does not matter. But the doctor, endocrinologist has to understand this, whether it is a girl to boy or whether it is a boy to girl, and they have to help this child. And in our center, we are doing that exactly. We are helping these children and the parents. First and foremost, parents coming from educated families, they understand about this, but not coming from the educated families, they don't know this. We can't blame them, we can't shout at them. So I think the idea should be to spread this awareness. And I really want to congratulate Neeta for the work that you're doing. Really, this Reach Out is an excellent organization, and you're bringing out the qualities of what is, and the different types. You know, you need to call an endocrinologist and understand it's not only GID, it's not trans man, it is not transgender. It is so many things are there where the sexual identity of a child, when the child is born, is not clear. And that time, how the doctor helps this child to become into whatever, that time they don't understand anything. And GID, let me tell you one thing, in GID, the child, if it's a girl child, is born as a girl child with girl sexual characteristics. It's only slowly that she starts telling, I don't feel like a girl. I don't feel like having girlfriends. I mean, boyfriends. At the age of 12 and 13, they're not attracted to boys. They're attracted to girls. So I'm trying to just say that it's a vast area, you know, and understanding each one is very, very important. And helping these people, what you're doing is an excellent job. Accepting these people for who they want to become and understanding the telltale signs even before the age of 10, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I know one mother, she used to come and tell she had a girl and a
I think Dr. Alka
has some connectivity issue.
Yeah, I think so. She has a connectivity issue.
I want to share one incident. Is it okay? Can I share? A very small one, not long.
Yeah, sure.
She's back. Alkaji's back.
I think Anupama has to leave because she has again a meeting to attend. And thank you, Anupama, for being here. And thank you, Anupama, for giving your time. Just one last sentence for the ongoing Pride Month from you, Anupama.
I think let's make all of us stand proud or stand with pride, and make it intentional.
Thank
And
you.
not just for the month, but for, I think, every day of our lives. Be accepting, open-hearted, open-minded along. It's not just doing service for the community. I think we will grow ourselves as human beings.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Neeta, for this
Thank
wonderful
you.
conversation, and
Anupama.
really nice meeting everybody, all the panelists and all the participants.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anupam.
Thank you, Anupama. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you,
Veena,
ma'am.
you had a question?
Now, I wanted to share one incident. I'm a parenting coach. I was in the IT industry for more than 20 years, and then I quit my job. Since last 3 years, I've transformed myself into a parenting and a teenage coach. And I have 2 kids from 2 marriages. My daughter is 21, my son is 6 years. After 15 years, I had my second child. So this incident is about 2 years back when my daughter joined degree college for Bachelor's of Design. And in design, what she went and observed is little fashion designing, interior designing, animation, a lot of different designing streams are there, specializations. And she saw that there were so many children with different sexual preferences. That was the time, I mean, she did know earlier, but actually meeting them and interacting with them, that was the first time. And then when she came back in vacation, she just shared with me that, Mama, I have a girl, she's a lesbian, there are a lot of guys who are gays. So, and there are a lot of people who are bisexual. So I said, yeah, it's just a phase, because probably that they are venturing out. They're trying to experience different things, probably out of curiosity or out of any other reason. But there could be a probability that they might choose one, or they might stay with multiple options, or they're just trying to know themselves, which is the one that they prefer. So it's completely fine. There's nothing to think anything wrong about it. It's just the way that it is, and it's absolutely fine as long as everything, the conversation or the interaction or living around with them, studying around them is normal. As long as that is all good, whatever preference they have, whatever you observe, it's just a part of learning. So just see how it goes. That's how I had to that's how I spoke to her about this topic. So yeah, and she does have a friend who's a lesbian. So I know about it. So as long as parents accept it, they're open to that, this whole concept of different preferences in terms of sexual or in terms of even differently abled. Why diversity and inclusion is only restricted to sexuality? It could be differently abled, right? Yeah. There could be hearingly impaired, physically impaired students also who are studying with them from different nationalities. That is also inclusion diversity. People with different cultures. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. And it was lovely attending this session. I'm happy that I attended. And it was great meeting people from all expertise. And
thank you
so much.
Thank you, Veena. So Shambhavi, over to you. Just one closing line for the ongoing Pride Month, and definitely Anupama has left the meeting, but I would like to tell a small practice what me and Anupama have been practicing is we are calling people from each and every community as a part of a family. So whether they are trans women, trans men, any gender, physically able, disabled, or differently abled, but we see to it that once in every quarter we meet them, we talk to them, and we just want to listen to them as to what is happening in their lives. And I would really love that if anyone could also would love to be a part of this, can really join in. It's just meeting for 1 hour and just talking about it. That's an investment which we do of listening.
How can we connect with you?
We are there on LinkedIn, and definitely I'll share my numbers and we'll be in touch. Yes, Dr. Shambhavi, sorry.
So just the last one thing that I have to say here is, even though we use this, the terms diversity and inclusivity quite interchangeably, but still we need to understand that while diversity could mean you are giving them that visibility, but at the same time, I think when it comes to bringing that change, you need to include them in this. When you're making some policy, you're taking some ideas, you're taking some decisions. I think they are going to play a very, very strong role out there. So to be very mindful of this while giving them that space, but at the same time also giving them that positions, and that let's say for instance, even if they're at workplaces, it's great to have them in a department, but also having them in some leadership roles when they are also generating policies for the ones who are in the department. Like that would mean having diversity and inclusivity at the same time. So yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Really well said. That whatever you just see, you speak, but it should be really been practiced, and it should be really been taken as a practice, not only for us right now, in fact, being the leaders, creating it more for the Gen Z generation also. So Rupa, एक आखिरी लाइन और एक आखिरी शब्द आपके यहाँ से, फिर हम रैप अप कर लेंगे आज का प्रोग्राम. रूपा आप हैं?
हाँ मैम, एक मिनट प्लीज से एक बार बात कीजिए, मेरा एक कॉल आया था.
अच्छा, तो मुझे सिर्फ एक बोलना है कि जो आज का हम लास्ट लाइन आपकी तरफ से क्या रहेगा प्राइड मंथ के लिए या इंक्लूजन एंड डाइवर्सिटी के लिए, एक आखिरी लाइन.
मुझे एक्चुअली ये कहना है मैम कि जैसे मुझ में चेंजेस आए हैं और लोग चेंजेस लाए अपने में, और समाज जो आज हमारे तरफ अच्छी नजर से देख रहा है, हमें हर बात में इन्वॉल्व कर रहा है, तो पूरी कम्युनिटी को सपोर्ट करना चाहिए और अपने अपने पोजीशंस के, अपने एजुकेशन के हिसाब से अपने आप को सेटल करना चाहिए. मैं ये नहीं सोचती कि मैं खुद सेटल हो चुकी हूँ, जॉब करती हूँ, मैरिज भी हो रहा है, तो मैं ये सोचती हूँ कि मेरे जैसे सभी ट्रांसमैन हो या ट्रांसवुमन हो, उनकी भी मेरी जैसी ही लाइफ सेटल करे. और मैं उसी के लिए काम करती हूँ कि मैं जैसे आगे बढ़ रही हूँ, सब हम आगे भी बढ़े. मैं अकेले आके ना जाऊं, हम सब मिल के आगे जाए और दुनिया को दिखा दे कि हम भी कर सकते हैं, हम कर दिखा सकते हैं. जैसे कि आपने कहा कि हम होंगे कामयाब, मन में है विश्वास, दिल में है विश्वास.
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you, Rupa. And with this, I thank everyone for being here. I know it's Sunday evening and everybody has to be with their families. Thank you for giving your time, gratitude, dil se. Thank you, everyone.